Hello everyone, my name is Giselle, my pronouns are they, them, and today I'm here to share with you everything I've stitched on in the past little more than a week, and I have a lot of progress to share with you. So I have stitched for 33 hours, which is a lot for me, and I have in total 8,189 tracked stitches, plus I was stitched on a project that is not digital, so some extra on a paper pattern. I worked on 9 projects. One of them is a finish, and I'm going to be showing them everything to you in least amount of work to most amount of work, or the least amount of time spent to the most amount of time spent. And let's just get into it. So the project that I worked the least on was Visit Mordor. This is by Country Magic Stitch. This is what it looks like, and I worked on it for 58 minutes. Not quite an hour, but it ended up being 2.93% of my stitching time, and I ended up getting 543 stitches into it. I'm still making super fast progress into this because it's just a bunch of block stitching still. I'm not really having to do much counting at all. And that's what it looked like the last time you saw it. Sorry for the glare and reflection. And this is what it is looking like today. So I'm still alternating between choosing colors, but I'm making really good progress. It's very fast to stitch. And I'm going to try to do something different today, which is, if I remember, I will show the back, because Elizabeth from Thread Gremlins said that she loves to see the back. So there we go. That is what the back of this one looks like. So I do half stitch. I always do bottom left to top right if I'm doing just a half cross, which is why I get those stripes, because I don't do tent stitch or anything like that. And then I just take my thread when I'm done stitching with it, and I go about 1 inch diagonally and pull it up, and then when I get to that, I cut it off. So that's what those strings are. And that's what I do with like most of my full coverage, at least all like my 28. So this is a 28 Monaco that I've gridded myself. Anyway, that's what it's coming along. It's already at 10.22%, and I've been working on it for less than a month, so I'm really, really pleased with my progress coming along for that. It's already at 2,302 stitches. So, good progress. My next project is from Selenmar X Stitch. I'll have all the projects linked down below. I call this project Autumn Roses, and I did 1 hour and 6 minutes on it. It was 3.35% of my stitching, and this is what it looks like. I'm not going to be doing the entirety of it. I'm only going to be doing the inner bit. And then this is what it looked like the last time you saw it. Here we are. And this is what it looks like today. So I just filled in a lot of this center part of the rose. And for this one, I ended up doing 278 stitches on it. It brings my total up to 2.7%, but that is not at all accurate since I haven't marked off the outer bit at all. I've not calculated that in. And for this one, oh, maybe I should have something on the back of this one as well. But it is coming along very well. I mean, out of all of those flowers, I mean, how many roses are in the center? 2, 4, 6. There's 8 roses in the center, and then a lot of extra, like, little buds. So I'm almost done with 2 roses. So I would say I'm maybe, like, almost 10% of the way, or almost 20% of the way through the section that I'm going to stitch, which is coming along well. And then as far as the back, this is what it looks like. So it's very much a hodgepodge. Let me get the back again, or the paper again. I just stitch however I like, and I don't care if my back looks the same. I just care if my stitches look nice on the front, and that means my back comes out very odd sometimes. Anyway, but I think my X's are very neat on this. Okay, my next, although Caroline also from the Thread Gremlins would say that I'm a big cheater because it's 25 count 1/1, and if you do if you do use one strand, if your stitches look nice, then it's just because you're cheating and using one strand. So it's not any sort of skill on my part. Okay, my next project is the Haunted Carousel. This is from the Witchy Stitcher, and this I did an hour and 24 minutes on. It was 4.27% of my stitching, and I don't know why I don't have this one easily pulled up. I should really do that. So this is what it is supposed to look like with the orange and teal. And then I am converting it to be some sort of pink situation, maybe some purple. We'll see. Something along those lines, not exactly that, but that general vibe. And since the last time you saw it, it looked like this. Oh, last time you saw it, it looked like this. I almost pulled up the wrong picture. So that tarp part is already done, and I was just showing my progress on the horses, and that you could see that I had the white stitches and the horse were already done. And for this, let's see, I ended up doing 320 stitches. It brings my total to 42.89%. My total in Autumn Roses is 1,080 stitches, and my total in the Haunted Carousel is 3,540 stitches. And that's what that is looking like. So I did finish this horse over here, and then this, you can already see that the bones I'm starting to get in. I do like stitching the lighter stitches first so that the black doesn't get pulled up as I pull the white stitches up, but I think it's coming along very lovely. I also think my stitches look very neat on this, even though it's 2 strands, Caroline. This is 2 strands over 2 on 32 count. It's like the vintage stormy cloud, or I don't know. It's like the white equivalent of vintage smoky or vintage country Ada, vintage country mocha. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway. And this is what the back looks like. So if I'm stitching on a fabric where the back will show through, I'm very neat. Like this is gonna show through. Like if I were to hang these through on such a like a sheer, like this is a very sheer linen. It's a 32 count linen. It's so sheer that I was really afraid that if I was gonna like drag these, they were going to really get messed up, or that they would like really show. So I did do each of those individually. Anyway, so that's what the back is looking like. And I do have some good news for this. I found the threads, my color scheme. So for these poles that I'm gonna have to keep extending down below the horses, my colors are 915 for the darkest, 3607 for the medium, and 3608 for the lightest. I had the thought that I had pulled them out of my master set and then put them somewhere special, but then I didn't see them. But then I looked again and I did find them. So they were pulled aside. I need to write them down though, so I can just put them back in my master set, and then I can pull them out again next time I work on this. I don't really plan on working on this for a while, so anyway. I did find that. And then for the horses, I don't know how well you can see it. They do have like smidges of pink, but also just regular white. And it is this overdyed floss from Afterglow. It was just one of their wild card colors. And it's just a hand-dyed floss that is a white to a pale pink. And I like this because then it kind of gives that a... In my mind, it's the effect is that, like, there were, like, white skeleton horses. And then maybe they got, like, splattered with blood. And then it, like, soaked in. And then they were, like, rinsed off. But then it stained it or something. I don't know. Very, like, macabre for this. But anyway, that's my progress. I rambled about that for a long time. And the reason I want to emphasize that my backs can be neat if you're gonna like see through the fabric, or if I want them to be neat, is because my next back is like the opposite of neat. Okay, so my next project is the Stroll Under the Rain. This is an artsy pattern, and it is, the artist is Leonid Avramov. And this is what it looks like. It is their mini. Please. Okay, there we go. I started up here in this corner. So typically I start my full coverages if I'm doing half cross from this corner, and then if I'm doing full cross, I like starting from this corner. It's just the orientation that works for my brain and my style of stitching. And the last time you saw this, I had it looking like this. I ended up working on this for 3 hours and 3 minutes. It was 9.27% of my stitching time. And this is what it's looking like today. So you definitely can see that I added some in here, but also like this whole section got filled in, which it's 3865, so it's a super pale white, so I didn't know if you'd be able to see that it is filled in. And then I brought a lot of that white down through here, so I was like, I don't know if you'll be able to see that I did do some white stitches. It was a couple strands of thread. And oh, also these are both the corners. Like this is the side right here. And then this part right here is the halfway point. So it is a very small pattern. It is only in total 17,850 stitches. So for full coverage, that is quite small. In total, I'm at 2,716 stitches, and in the last like week or so, I've done 5,704 stitches, and I'm now up to 15.22%. So I'm really glad that this is at 15%. It's just been very fun to like pull out and work on. It's very satisfying with all the colors and everything. And now for the back. If you don't like a messy back, you will not like this. So yeah, this is my back. It's, I do carry my threads quite far. I'll carry them like 1.5 inches before just like ending them off. And yeah. Also on this, I don't do the ending them. I don't like bring them up to cut them off. I do a pin stitch to end them. I do a double pin stitch. So you can see like all of these ends. I did a stitch right here, and then I did a double pin stitch to end them. So I'll do a pin stitch, and then I'll go down a diagonal and do another pin stitch. And then technically this could get cut off, but I just leave it because I'm kind of afraid that the pin stitches will come undone, just because I'm a paranoid stitcher. So there's no harm in leaving them until I've stitched over the first pin stitch, and then I'll cut it off. I don't know if that makes sense to you at all, but I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. And I got that idea from, oh gosh, Gemma Stitches, I think her channel is. I know her name is definitely Gemma, but I think it's Gemma Stitches. But I can leave her link down below. She just like will very dedicatedly work on one project and does a ton of stitch with me's, like multiple every week, and she does pin stitches to finish her work on Ada, and I really enjoy watching her stitch with me's. I haven't watched them as much recently, but I used to watch them all the time to fall asleep. I watched like her entire Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask to fall asleep to for like probably a year or something. It was a couple years ago. I know she's working on this big peacock piece that is like literally like wider than this and super tall, and anyway, she just makes a ton of progress and is just like very consistent. So anyway, I'll leave that link down below if you want to do, you can see her stitch with me's, and then also she has monthly posts that she'll do as well with like just like check in if you just want to see like a very short floss tube. But anyway, that's where I got doing pin stitches on Ada, and I really like it for full coverage. Let's see. My next project is, oh, No Time Like the Present. Okay, so this is by Modern Folk Embroidery. Okay, let's see. This is, I did 3 hours and 48 minutes, and it was 11.51% of my stitching time. And it is so beautiful, but it was the yearly stitch along for 2024, so it's been a year and a half, and I have not made a lot of progress. Basically, I started it right when it came out. I worked on it for like one day, and then I didn't pick it up again until like, oh, basically just right now. Anyway, it's stunning. I love it so much. And I was really excited to be working on it. So, like I said, I got almost 4 hours into it. I did 910 stitches, and I brought my total up to 1,738. So I over doubled my stitches. All right, here's what it looked like the last time you saw it. Pretty much just the border and a tiny smidgen of the inner bit. And that's basically still what it is. Despite the fact that I've still worked on it, that I worked on it so much, it's still just border and a tiny smidgen of the inner bit. But I did a lot of work on it. These part threads are not because I necessarily wanted to, which is because that's where my hoop ended, and I really couldn't stitch any further. And this part thread is because I didn't feel like counting. But yeah, there's my progress. I love this flower a lot. I love that flower. I love these leaves. And I was just making progress. So there we go. Ugh, it's so beautiful. This is on 46 count. This was the first 46 count I ever stitched. I'm stitching with the Gentle Arts, the Gentle Art sampler threads. The first one is Mulberry, and then the second one is Blue Spruce. And I mean, so far I've done a good amount. I mean, I'm 4.87% of the way through, and I feel like I haven't made even the slightest dent in these. So I'm very happy about that. This was a bigger skein, by the way. I know these look very uneven. This one was a significantly larger skein. This was like a 10 skein, and this was a 5 skein, a 10-yard skein, and a 5-yard skein. So don't think that I've like used so much more of the brown, the red, orange, I don't know. And then this is what the back looks like. So again, I'm just trying to keep it neat. I don't want to like run again these like little speckly dots, the little single strand ones. I don't want to run them more than like a stitch away because I'm afraid it will show through. Sorry that string is hanging down. I don't want them to show through, so I am ending those off. But it has been very fun to stitch on. Also, this is the halfway point, somewhere around right here. So it's not going to be like the hugest because it's on 46 count. And I wasn't ending off like in between the border, obviously. Like those like 1 stitch gaps, I was obviously okay with running, but it was just like those little dots that were quite far away from each other. Anyway, that's my progress. I have a goal. I have almost 50 whips. I'm really trying hard not to let myself go over 50. I really don't want to, but I have a goal to work on every project at least 5 hours this year. And with some of my other projects, like my bigger full coverages, like Contessa with Squid, where I'm working like 3 hours or more every week, 3, 4, 5 hours every week on her. It is like actually taking a lot of like planning and focus, especially since there were a few months at the beginning of the year where I like didn't stitch at all. So I am like very dedicatedly going through and pulling out a few projects every week and like focusing on them. So that's what like my Haunted Carousel was, my Autumn Roses, this one is. My Autumn Roses I haven't quite met my goal on. I think I need a couple more hours, but this I hit my 5 hours on. My Haunted Carousel I hit my 5 hours on. So I've been going through and making sure I hit 5 hours on all my pieces, just because I don't want any of my pieces to not get like at least some work every year. But that's like a fairly daunting task considering that I have almost 50 projects. So I'm trying to balance that. So you probably won't see that one for a while, but I'm trying. And then I'm also trying to balance it with like my deep, intense love for my full coverages and wanting to make a significant amount of progress on all of them as well. But I'm very happy with how much progress I made on this. I had so much fun stitching it. I just think it's some of the most, it's such a stunning chart. There are some other modern folk embroidery pieces that I do really want to start as well. I've had the skeleton one since it released. It's like part of the arranging series. Oh no, that's not him. That's Ink Circle, sorry. I've had, what other ones? I have like the Free Palestine one, obviously. I have some of his other charts, I really do. I have like, I'm working on currently the Here Be Dragons. I'm probably going to pull that one out in the next few weeks since I haven't worked on it at all this year. His charting is super stunning. I really like his pieces, and There are quite a few I want to start by him, but I'm like, I cannot start anymore, but until I finish or at least get really far into, I have 2 going by him until I get far into the ones that I have currently going. So I'm trying. Okay, my next project is the Everyday Witches Familiar, the dog. So I did 4 hours and 24 minutes. It was 13.33% of my stitching time. Quite a witchy number, right? Let's see. I love this project. This is what it looks like. This is from Unconventional X Stitch, and this project, the artist is Elizabeth Alba. Is that her name? Yeah, Elizabeth Alba. I love this. This is like me. The aesthetic is me. Sorry if you can hear that. The last time you saw this, it looked like this. So I've just been continuing to try to like work in some of these part threads and just work down this diagonal. And here is where it's looking like today. So yeah, just, I mean, I did get some of this brick filled in down here. But yeah, this project is quite a bit of a, more of a slog than some of my other full coverages. I love it so much. I just mean that it's the stitches are very scattered, very far apart from each other. There's no block stitching, hardly at all. It's quite different than a lot of my other full coverages in feeling. And I love it a lot, and I love the art a lot, and I do love stitching it a lot, but it is very different. So I ended up doing 1,473 stitches. It brings my total to 15,381 stitches, and let me pull that back. And then my total is 11.06%. And yeah, it is so beautiful and so fun. I was like so confused. I was like, what is this coming in? And then I realized it was because that's a lot of like where I was working and filling in was down here. I was like, what is all this black down here? And I realized it was the fire. It was like the logs, and then I was starting to get some of like some warmer stitches down there. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's all like the warmth from the fire. Okay. Are you ready for the back? You can definitely see the picture in this one. So even though I do those like long strands, because I was stitching this one quite diligently and quite strict diagonals, I think the picture came out much stronger in this one than in some of my other full coverages. I don't know if that will continue since I'm leaving the very strict diagonals and I'm going more loosey-goosey with my stitching, but I just thought that was interesting how you can like really see like here's the kettle, here's the, I don't know what that's called, like the hook to hold it up and everything. And you can like see like each of the little like blubs down here for like the drying. The drying flowers. Anyway, that's my back, and yeah, I do really love it. I don't want to make you feel like I don't love stitching it because I do, but it feels so different than, I mean, I've shown you 2 other full coverages, and I'm about to show you 2 others. And this one is like an experience all unto itself because it's just so like, I don't know if it's quite captured, but it's just like how it's charted and how the art translates to getting charted. It's just so like textured that you really have to be like paying close attention. And well, the nice thing about that is that like really you can fudge so much because it is just like very, everything is like can be so blurred. There's also like a green tinge to almost everything. There's like a lot of green up here. There's a ton of green all throughout here. Like there's a lot of like 934 throughout the whole thing. Like everything just has this green tone, which I think is just so beautiful. But it's very interesting. But like my average stitches per hour for Visit Mordor is very high. It's over 500 because it's just like blocks and it's very, very fast. So that's an exception. My average stitches for Contessa with Squid is 329 stitches per hour, which is still like very, very fast. And then my average stitches for this one per hour is 256. So it's like, I would say significantly slower, like over 50 stitches lower, like 75 stitches slower per hour, just because it's like so scattered every time. Anyway, and even like Home in the Mountains, which is the next one I'm going to show you, is still like 316 stitches per hour. Like my other full coverages are just a lot faster than that one, which isn't like a good thing or a bad thing. These are all like neutral statements that I'm making. They're just, it's just like interesting. I like the stats, I like the information, I like thinking about like stitching processes and stuff like that. Okay, let's move on because you're probably bored to hell. Okay, my next project is Home in the Mountains. This is from Golden Kite. The artist is sorry. The artist is Jerry Vanderstelt. And I ended up working on this for 4 hours and 53 minutes, and it was 14.8% of my stitching time. I almost showed you the project first. Jeez. This is what it's supposed to look like. I do have a picture, but the last time you saw this, but I did move the hoop, so I don't know if some of the, also this picture is very blurry, I'm sorry. It's kind of blurry down here. I don't know if I worked some down here before moving the hoop, so this might not be totally accurate. I might have like worked some and then moved the hoop, but this is what it's looking like right now. I've just like continued moving up here and like working, but I moved the hoop and there's like a bunch more down here. So much so that like you can see it all the way over here. But there we are. There it is. I ended up doing 1,660 stitches on this. It's at 15,202 stitches. Let's see. Yeah, so the total time, these 2 projects have like almost the exact same amount of stitches, but this project has 60 hours in it and this project has 48 hours in it. So like, even though they have the same amount of stitches, I've spent a lot more time on this, like 12 more hours on it. But it's coming along. I'm still strictly in the clouds, but I'm coming down in this diagonal and eventually I'll hit something, but it's gonna be a long time. I'm only at 4.39%, and this is what my back is looking like. and it's very blobby. Just because it's a bunch of clouds. I've started doing something new on this because typically I'll do sorry, I'm like trying to think how I want to phrase it. So typically when I am anchoring one of my blended threads on this, because it is all blended, well, not all blended threads, but there's a lot of blended threads in here. Typically when I'm anchoring one of them, I'll bring it up about like 10 stitches away and I'll leave that tail. And then I'll do a single strand loop start, but I'll do it with 2 strands because I have 2 strands, because it's a blended thread. But I'll do a single strand loop start and then I'll stitch. And then when I eventually, with whatever thread I'm stitching with, it could be that color, it could be a different color, I'm gonna stitch into the hole that that tail end is coming up through, then I'll cut that end off. But recently, instead of just coming up through that with that tiny little tail, I've started tying knots and leaving those knots. And I don't know, I'm liking it so far, because otherwise I was just leaving these tiny little tails and I was afraid that they were gonna like get pulled up and then like stitched in weird and make my back like even more bulky than it already is. And I don't know, so I'm doing knots on the front, and then when I'm gonna stitch into that hole, then I can cut off the knot instead of the end of the thread. I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, but it's making sense to my brain, and that's how I'm just adding that additional knot. I'm still doing a loop method to start, because I like that extra security, but it's just like adding more like stability so that like end doesn't escape through. Hopefully that all makes sense. Okay, I just have 2 more projects left. This video is very long. I feel like I just wanted to share more details, and then also showing the backs I feel like is making me talk even more. I never know when to stop talking. Okay, so in the next project, I do not have to show you what it looked like or what it's supposed to look like because I finished it, but I can show you what it looked like the last time you saw it. So this is the Lavender grower. It's from stitchyprose, and it was a Spring Mingle exclusive. I ended up working on this for 4 hours and 54 minutes. It was 12.86% of my stitching time. The last time you saw it, it looked like this. It was just a little bird head and some X's. And this is what it looks like today. So, like I said, this was the Spring Mingle. Yeah, so it says Spring Mingle 2025. The X's are in the corner and then down here. And yeah, it's from stitchyprose. Spring Mingle was very fun. It's hosted by Lindy Stitches, and she does all these different like retreats throughout the year. The next one is tomorrow as of when I'm filming this. I don't know if I'll get this up before it starts. Who knows? Midsummer Stitch, but I'm gonna be going to that, and I was like, you are not allowed to go to Midsummer Stitch unless you finish this. So I sat down and finished it, and it was really fun to stitch. I just love the idea that this little bird is the one making the flowers. And yeah, so in total, I don't technically have the exact amount, but it roughly took me 6 hours to stitch this entire thing. There we go. Oh, and this fabric is Milk and Honey Fiber on a Win, 40 count. So I just did 1 strand, and it turned out very nice. I like this. It's a very sweet pattern. Okay. Oh, backs. I forgot backs. This one, I wasn't afraid about the thread showing through because it's like a little bit of a darker fabric and it's not transparent. So I carried those threads all the way through. I would carry it from here all the way down to here, like from color to color. Here down to here. I did not give a fuck. And actually, okay, so I don't stitch words and cross stitch. You may have noticed. I do not stitch words. I'm just not one to put like words up around my house. So I'm not going to stitch cross stitch that has words because then I'm not going to put it up in my house. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might just hold on to it for a long time and then eventually try to make it into like, I don't know, maybe commission somebody to make it into like a little project bag or something. I think would maybe be fun, but I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with this yet. But I was like, since it was for Spring Mingle, I think it would be fun to stitch in the words in the back stitch or whatever. But they were so fun to stitch. The font was really fun, but it was just super heckin' fun to put in the font. And it kind of makes me want to stitch more words in back stitch specifically, which is so funny. Because I'm like, I would never utilize it. I would never want to put it on my wall. I would never want to like do anything with it. So that's something I'm thinking about. I'm like, well, what do I do with this information? That backstitch words are very fun to stitch, and I think they're cute. I just don't want to like decorate with them, so I don't know what to do with that. Like, again, like I said, maybe I can like utilize them to make them into like project bags in the future or something like that, but I've never sewed something like that, and nor do I think I would have like the follow through to do something like that. So I don't know, but that was a sad realization because I'm like, damn, this is really fun. I want to stitch more like this, but it's just gonna go in a box if I stitch it. Okay, my final project today, to nobody's surprise, is Contessa with Squid. I'm always stitching a very large amount on this. Oh, I don't have any stats on that, by the way, because it didn't work in Pattern Keeper or Markup, so I just stitched off a paper pattern. Okay, so Contessa with Squid. This is what they look like. Absolutely wonderful. I ended up working on this for 8 hours and 29 minutes. It was 25.67% of my stitching time. And this ended up being, I was trying to get it, last time you saw it was at 10%, but I needed to do my stitching for that week and this week to get it from do my 0.33 for each of those weeks to get it up to 0.66%. So there's a lot of stitches I needed to put in. Anyway, and you probably all know what this looks like last time because it was my thumbnail for my last video, but there we go. This is what it looked like the last time you saw it. Let's see. I ended up doing 2,433 stitches. And right now the total is at 39,138 stitches. And this is what it is looking like. So yeah, I'm still working down in this diagonal. I'm getting really close to the end. I think it ends like here or here. I think I'm gonna have to move this the next time, before the next time I see you. I don't think I'll get this diagonal totally finished next week, but I think by the end of the month I will. I'm trying to look and see if I can see on my Pattern Keeper really quick where that diagonal ends. Oh, you know what? It's actually right here. Is where that diagonal that I'm working in. So I am actually very close. I mostly need to do fill in right here and a little bit more down here. So I don't actually need to move the hoop. So if I don't have to, I don't think I will. But yeah, I'm just working away. Um, and yeah, I'm at 10.66%, so I hit that goal. It was kind of rough working on this week. I mean, not really. It was okay. I got through it, but there was so much single stitches that was like kind of annoying this week. Up here in this orange section in particular, there were a lot of stitches where it was like one stitch of this color, one stitch of this color, one stitch of this color. I'm like, why? This is, I mean, mostly because of their usage of AI and how they treat artists. Those are the top two reasons. But then the third reason why I'm never going to buy from Heaven and Earth Designs again is just because of their charting. They like don't give a singular fuck if their charting is good or not. They just will pump them out. It's like a pattern mill. Um so it was like unnecessary. I'm like, oh, you could have done those colors with like any of these like 18 other colors around it that are similar. But no, they needed those 3 other colors that, and I'm like, I am following the pattern. I know I could have filled it in with something else, but I mean, I'm gonna fill in the pattern. I have everything on specific floss cards. That's just made it more like easy and made this pattern like more mobile for me is that I've been using. I know these are probably giving some of you heart attacks. It's just because when I use them, they just get ratty, and then like once every couple weeks I'll go through and kind of like finger comb them out and make them all neat and tidy again, and then as I use them they get like really messed up again. Um but I just like I have everything right here. It's not too much of a hassle, but it's just like the charting on here is just like the effect is really beautiful, but it's completely unnecessary. It has like almost 250 colors, and I just hate that Haid like has to have either like 90 colors or 250, or you have to pay for something in the middle that like isn't these extreme, and it's like I don't know, like something around like 150 colors is much more in my wheelhouse and I think would work better for me. And they don't go through to check that there's not these like unnecessary random ones. Like sometimes it is necessary to have like a random stitch of a color, but all of these colors looked almost exactly the same. So anyway, that's my rant about Haid. I mean, I said I wouldn't buy from them anymore. It was over a year ago, and I've kept to that, and it has been very easy. A couple times I've gone on the site kind of just to see what kind of art they're putting out, and it's mostly just been AI, and it's mostly been so ugly. So I'm like, okay, yeah, they're making it very easy for me not to be interested in buying from them anymore. And now incredible artists like Omar Rayon, which I keep forgetting to say his name because I'm just so excited to like talk about how incredible this is, but artists like Omar Rayon have like moved to Unconventional X Stitch, and now you can get this piece from Unconventional X Stitch. Um, I know the Dace Man Zero is stitching a version of Contestant Squid from um, Unconventional X Stitch, and it's working up really beautifully. He's already like over 10% of the way in because their charts, like Unconventional X Stitch's charts, are like actually reasonable sizes a lot of the time, and it's just, yeah. Anyway, there's my unnecessary Haid rant that you didn't ask for. Oh, and by the way, this is what the back is looking like. So, there we are. Not much to say that I haven't said in my other full coverages. And I think that's it for full coverage. My charts, I mean. I do want to say that I also have a fully finished object to show you, 2 fully finished objects to show you, but I do not have them on my person, so I'm going to show you pictures. So they were fully finished in my last video, but I was talking about so many other things that I was like, I'll save them for another video, and I'm going to show them today. So they are 2 finishes that I've showed in some of my last videos. They are, wait, just get the names. Oh, stop it. Okay. So a water lilies pattern from Sunset and Sea Design, and also Blue Dancers from Nara X Stitch Patterns. The water lilies is a Monet pattern, and the Blue Dancers is a Degas pattern. So this is what they look like. And I finished framing them up, and I gave them to my sister, and they were so fun, and she really loved them, and these are them hanging on her wall. So I'm really happy about that. I forgot to ask her how she hung them on her wall. I need to like text her that and be like, how did you do that? Because I'm going to show you my process for finishing these. But those are what the frames look like. They were roughly these colors, but I did paint them myself as well because I didn't quite like how they looked. They looked a little too plastic to me, so I went over them with my own paint. And I'm glad I did because it ended up working out. So what I had done is I took the pieces after I washed them and ironed them, and I ended up okay, I have some right here. Let me show you another saga. Okay. These are what the frames look like that I bought. So they have no like depth. They are meant for paper and then to get put straight on the wall. They're like meant for like big frames and a small dollhouse, I think is the purpose of them. So you're supposed to like glue a paper piece right into it, like a piece of artwork into it, and then it's right against the wall and it's no problem. But for cross stitch, it's kind of a problem. So I was like, well, what am I gonna do? So this is the process that I ended up coming up with. So this is what they look like. Like I said, I think they looked just like very plastic. So I ended up painting them myself. And then it came in like a pack of variety of 4 sizes. So I still have 2 left. But 2 of them fit the 2 pieces perfectly. I'll have these linked down below if you're interested. But I don't know if anybody would want to do what I did because it was interesting. But these like divot inside, I ended up measuring this, and I cut out a piece of acid-free like foam board to match that. And then I ended up taking the piece and I did pinning on that to that size. So there we go. It was pinned, and I pinned it like really intensely. So it's all pinned, beautiful, and it fit right in there, nestled in there. But then there was like this huge, I mean, you can see there's this huge thing where it's like coming up almost this much off the side of the frame. So it's like, even if I glued it down in there, then it's just going to be like, if you put that straight on your wall, it's going to be hanging off super far, and it's going to have this like canvas look around the side, like a stretched canvas look, which wasn't what I was wanting. So what I ended up doing, you can see in the back here, is that I built out of popsicle sticks. I basically cut with a X-Acto blade the ends of popsicle sticks off to be the right length, filed them down so they were like smooth, and then I glued them together into rectangles, and then I painted those, which is why it was nice that I painted them, because then they all matched, and then I put it over it like a little cage, so then it looked like that. and that was me gluing it down. And so then I glued the canvas down straight onto here, and then I glued the little cage around it. And then that was them done. And it worked out really well. And then since I had painted this, and I painted my popsicle sticks, then they ended up matching really well. I didn't have a picture from the side except for that one picture, so maybe that's not that helpful. But let me know if you followed that. That was my way to get around it, to have beautiful frames. And they ended up fitting actually pretty well. The Monet doesn't fit quite as well as the Degas, but considering that they are meant for like doll houses, I'm just glad I could find like beautiful frames that didn't cost me like an arm and a leg or whatever. But I was able to do these and be like pretty economical since I don't have a huge budget at this moment in time. Anyway, so those are my 2 finishes, and I'll have both of those pieces linked down below if you're interested. Yeah. Okay, my next thing I was just gonna mention, so the app that I always use to track my stitching, like the amount of time that I stitch, because somebody has asked before and I like answered in the comments, but I always forget to say in the videos, and I'm going to try to start linking it in the description of every video. It's called TogglTrack, TOGGL space track, TRACK. So it's basically toggle without an E. But this is it for the last 2 weeks. So I can see like the amounts that I did each day. Then it lets you have like a little pie chart, all the projects that you worked on. And then there's like a timer section, and then you can see how much you did each day and the different projects that you've worked on. And then when I'm working on it, I just hit I'm working on, and then add a project, and then I just type in what project I'm working on. If that project doesn't exist, then I'll say add a project, create a new project, and then I'll add that project in. And that's how I keep track of it. And then for the reports, like sure, you can do for like certain amounts of time. So I did the 9th through the 17th because that's the amount of time that I wanted to do. But I could also do like this week if I wanted to be specific. I could do last week. I could do last month. I could do this year. There are like other things, or you could do like custom ones. And then I could just hit done, and it will show me all of this year, which is helpful. And that's how I kind of see like my projects that I've hit 5 hours on, like no time like the present. I can see that I stitched on it for 5 hours. Same thing with like Green Hills. I've hit 5 hours on it, and the Haunted Carousel. Anyway, so that's what I use. Hopefully this is helpful information, but I'll have that link down below. No like affiliation or anything, obviously. I just use it to track my time I spend stitching because I like to do that. And I think that's everything I have for you today. That's definitely everything stitchy. The last thing I'm gonna say, so if you're only here for stitching, you can dip now and I won't be offended. Also, I'll say really quick, I know I mentioned Caroline and Elizabeth, but also Amy, I love you too. I think you are so cool and amazing. Okay. For my reading, so I've been reading a lot, but I have no books to talk about this time because I have been DNFing, aka did not finish. So I've been did not finishing or not finishing books voraciously. I think I've chosen not to finish like 5 or 6 books in the last like week and a half. I've been starting many books and getting like a good chunk of the way into them, like 15 to 30%, and then deciding I don't want to read this and giving up on them. And I'm really trying to read, but I haven't had progress in finishing books. The only thing that I've actually finished in the last week was this. Um, so yeah, This World is Full of Monsters by Jeff Vandermeer, and it is a short story. It's like 40 pages long, and I don't know how I feel about it, so I don't even really want to talk about it that much. It was very sad and melancholic and weird, and was like a fever dream, and just I don't know, like I didn't necessarily like love it or dislike it. It was just like interesting to read, and then I don't know that I'll really think about it much after this. Um but that's the only thing I've actually read. Just a lot of DNFs. And then I'm currently in the middle of 3 different books. I'm like 30 to 40% of the way into 3 different books right now, which I think is helping. I think it helps me keep my engagement, because if I'm like just in the mood for different genres, I have like a variety of things to pick up, rather than being like, well, I'm not in the mood, or I'm in the mood to read, but I'm not in the mood for like this kind of book, so I guess I'm not going to read. Instead, I'm like, oh, I'm in the mood for reading, but I'm not in the mood for this kind of book, but I'm already reading a book that I'm in the mood for, so like it gives me different kind of things. So I'm reading a horror fantasy. I'm reading the new like Grady Hendrix, like a Wayward Guide, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, I think is what it's called. I'm about like 40% of the way into that. I'm reading a sci-fi mystery, the 3rd book in the, I don't remember what this series is called. So I'll talk about it if I end up finishing it. And then I'm also reading a book called Custodians of Wonder. I don't remember what the author is either for that one. It's about somebody who's like interested in researching the last of like a certain field, or so he ends up, yeah, like just like researching different things, like different professions or things like that, and like the dying out of those things. And yeah, so a nonfiction, a sci-fi mystery, and like a fantasy horror set like in the 80s. So like very different genres. I'm not getting them confused whatsoever, and I'm kind of like bouncing between them. I don't know how I'm feeling about the nonfiction, so we'll see how I go with that, but I think it helps me like to have multiple things to choose between, because I'm usually in the mood for at least one of them. But yeah, that's it for my reading. I think that's it for the video. And yeah, tomorrow, as of filming, is Midsummer Stitch. So if I get this up before it or during it, maybe I will see you there. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you hopefully in about a week. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And if you made it so far in this video, if you want to leave like a spider or even like a bat or something. Oh, if you made it this far, you get to have the pleasure of seeing my shirt. Anyway, I have spiders in my hair, so if you want to leave like a spider or a bat, you can do that. Anyway, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.